All right, welcome everyone. If you're running a business, starting a new venture, or sourcing any kind of inventory in the state of Maryland, you are in exactly the right place. Today's explainer is your ultimate guide to cutting through Maryland's tax bureaucracy. We are diving deep into everything you need to know about the Maryland Resale Certificate. So let me ask you a quick question. Are you currently paying taxes twice on your inventory? It's a painful trap known as double taxation. Just imagine buying materials from your supplier, paying sales tax on that purchase, and then turning right around, selling it to your customer, and collecting sales tax all over again. That eats directly into your profit margins. Well, the Maryland Resale Certificate is your ultimate shield against this. It's a vital tool to protect your hard-earned profits, and today we're going to master it. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover what is a resale certificate. Then, Maryland legal requirements. After that, the step-by-step process, followed by real-world examples. Then, expert tips and compliance. And finally, final thoughts. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, what is a resale certificate? The key to tax-free inventory. In plain English, standard tax structures are designed so that a product or a taxable service is only taxed once, right? Specifically at the point of final consumption. So a resale certificate is simply a written statement you hand over to a seller. It legally certifies that the merchandise or service you're buying is going to be resold in a taxable sale or incorporated into a product that you manufacture to sell later. By presenting this document to your supplier, you're allowed to buy that inventory without paying upfront sales tax. It really is that simple. Moving on to Section 2, Maryland Legal Requirements, the rules of the game. Now, take a look at the official seal of the Comptroller of Maryland. To legally issue a resale certificate, your business must first register for and secure a permanent Maryland sales and use tax license from the Comptroller. You don't just apply for a resale certificate out of thin air. You absolutely have to apply for the tax license first. This requirement kicks in if you have a physical nexus in Maryland. So we're talking about things like a storefront, a warehouse, storing inventory, or having employees physically located in the state. And for our out-of-state viewers, take note of this $100,000 threshold. Even if you don't have a physical building in Maryland, the state enforces what's called an economic nexus rule. Basically, if you're a remote seller and you surpass $100,000 in gross sales, or if you complete 200 or more separate transactions into Maryland annually, you are legally required to register for that sales and use tax license. All right, Section 3, the step-by-step process, your action plan. Let's break this down into a really simple 4-step sequence. Step 1, check your eligibility. Make sure you actually sell taxable goods or services and have established your nexus. Step 2, register for your free Maryland sales and use tax license. You're going to do this by filling out the Combined Registration Application, or CRA, online through the Maryland Tax Connect portal. Did I mention it's completely free? Because it is. Once you have your 8-digit tax ID number, you move to Step 3. Complete the certificate. And finally, Step 4, you hand that completed certificate directly to your vendor. You do not submit the resale certificate itself back to the state. Now, here's a very common point of confusion that I really want to clear up. Maryland actually doesn't issue a mandatory official state form for the resale certificate. You can use a template provided by the state, or honestly, you can even buy a generic pad of certificates from a local office supply store. However, and this is a big however, under Maryland's Tax General Code Section 11408, your document absolutely must contain this specific information to be valid: your business name and address, your 8-digit Maryland sales and use tax registration number, your signature, and a clear statement declaring that the purchase is strictly intended for resale. If you leave any of those out, your vendor is going to reject it. Let's look at how this plays out. Section 4, Real-World Examples, Applying the Rules. Pay close attention to this one because it catches a lot of business owners completely off guard. If your purchase is over $200, you just use your resale certificate normally. Simple. But if you're making a purchase of less than $200 and you pay by cash, check, or credit card, you cannot use your resale certificate to buy it tax-free unless the vendor delivers those goods directly to your retail place of business. If you literally just walk into a supplier's shop, buy $150 worth of goods with a credit card, and try to walk out, they have to charge you tax. Now, you can file a claim for a refund with the comptroller later, but you can't use the certificate right there at the register.
We also have a couple of highly specific, unique exceptions for unregistered out-of-state buyers. As a general rule, Maryland does not accept out-of-state resale certificates. But if you're an out-of-state antique dealer buying antiques or used collectibles, you actually can use your home state's tax ID. Also, if you're a buyer from a state that just flat out doesn't have a sales tax, like Delaware, for example, you can provide a copy of your home state's trader's license or equivalent ID instead of a Maryland one.
Moving into Section 5, Expert Tips and Compliance. Avoiding the audit trap. Here is a golden rule for you. Absolutely never use your resale certificate for personal items or even for operational business supplies like office printers or breakroom coffee. That is illegal. And secondly, commit this number to memory. 4 years. Both vendors and buyers have to retain these resale certificates for at least 4 years from the date of purchase. Because look, if the comptroller's office comes knocking for a sales tax audit, a properly completed resale certificate is literally your only official proof of why sales tax wasn't collected. If you don't have it on file, you could end up being held personally liable for that uncollected tax, plus all the interest and penalties. Now, if you have a regular supplier that you buy from all the time, you obviously don't want to hand them a new piece of paper every single week. That's where a blanket resale certificate comes in, which just states that all your future purchases are for resale. Just keep in mind, expert guidance suggests you should update these blanket certificates at least every 3 years, or honestly, immediately whenever your core business details change. It just keeps your supplier's records perfectly compliant. And you can never just set it and forget it when it comes to taxes, because laws are always evolving. For instance, beginning July 1, 2025, Maryland is implementing a brand new 3% sales and use tax on specific data, information technology, and software publishing services. So if you purchase or resell these specific IT services, you definitely need to check if you're on the hook to start collecting taxes on them. You always have to stay vigilant. Almost done here. Section 6, Final Thoughts and Disclaimer. Wrapping up. So, you now have a rock-solid roadmap for navigating Maryland's resale certificate landscape. You know you need the sales and use tax license first, you know how to apply for it for free via the CRA, and you know the strict rules about that $200 threshold and the 4-year record keeping. So I want to leave you with this thought. What steps will you take today to optimize your business's tax strategy? Taking the time to properly register and utilize a resale certificate isn't just about filing boring paperwork. It is a critical strategy for lowering your upfront costs, staying highly competitive with your pricing, and ultimately fueling your business growth in Maryland. And finally, before we go, please note that the information provided in this explainer is for educational purposes only. We highly emphasize consulting with a qualified legal or financial advisor or a tax professional for specific business advice regarding your unique operations in Maryland. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this essential topic. Now get out there and build your business.